Week 2 of VUSM 100 online, and I'm going to spend about 5 minutes talking about chapters 4 through 6, when St. Francis formed his order and sought permission to do what he was doing within the Catholic Church at the time. I see there's a good glare behind me, so I apologize for that, but maybe it's helpful because you can't see me. So we'll start with chapter 4. And chapter 4 was, now we know that St. Francis had this vision in front of the San Damiano cross at Portocino and decided to dedicate his life to God, poverty, and service, and thought that it was a good idea to share that with others. So in the beginning, he really only had 4 followers that agreed to, at the time and even now, something pretty controversial and something that took quite a bit of dedication, to give up everything and to basically starve yourself and live in abject poverty and beg for sustenance to follow God was quite a feat even then, when the belief system was much different perhaps than it is now. So he really had to sell his message and ended up going from 4 to 8. But nonetheless, when he did this, people thought he was crazy. Remember, this was the rich kid who lived on top of the hill and now was living on the bottom of the hill with people that most of them didn't associate with. And it was probably quite a shock to some of the people that didn't know him. And he said their mission for his followers was basically penance and forgiveness. That it wasn't about glory, it wasn't about having other people see how good of people they are, but it was about service, and it was about absolute devotion with joy and not being sorrowful about what they were doing. So he sought more and ended up with now 12 followers that decided to live with him in this mission to, 1, spread the word, and 2, to devote everything to their belief system in God. And then as we move along, St. Francis, though at the time, remember this is the 1200s, the medieval ages, Europe was mostly run by the Catholic Church. The Catholic Church was at the time, and obviously still now is an institution as well, a very powerful political institution. And especially at that time, when people were going against the church's teachings, they were referred to as heretics, and actually heretics were killed back in the 1200s. And so St. Francis needed permission to operate within Catholicism, within the Roman Catholic Church, and with permission of the Pope. So he needed to have some type of approval. So prior to the 12 decided to travel to Rome, they all got tonsured, which is you might even see it now. Some people just have a ring around their head of hair, and everything else is shaved. That was to signify who they were, with a brown robe and a rope tied around. And so they decided to go to Rome, and they actually, by coincidence, got an audience with Pope Innocent III. Pope Innocent III was part of the Crusades. He didn't have terribly, as history judges, popes a really good record for some of the things that he did, but he hit it off with St. Francis because, remember, St. Francis is a pretty personable guy, real social, and though the Pope was skeptical of what they wanted to do, he wasn't going to give Francis the authority of being a priest, but he did give him deaconship and gave him some assurances, and said that we'll see you come back and see what you can do, but I'll give you permission, tacit approval, to go back to Assisi and operate under the Catholic Church, which of course was big for Francis because he could use that as a selling point to gather more people to follow his order. So again, leaving Rome, he did get permission to operate unofficially under the Catholic Church. So they went back to Assisi with permission from the Pope, which was, again, big. And they were living on this little, at the bottom of the hill, on this little crooked river called Rivo Torto. And they basically begged and grew vegetables to sustain themselves, and lived almost basically in a dirt hut, and were tempted often, especially those that St. Francis brought along to go back to their old ways. But they continued to persevere, and they started to grow in numbers. At the same time, another Assisian, this time St. Clare, found out about St. Francis, and was intrigued, interested, and was looking for spiritual intimacy. And so she visited the Porticinula, which is where they were living, and had a discussion with St. Francis, and wanted to basically do the same thing. Now, remember, we're talking about females in the Catholic Church, especially back then. This was unheard of. But St. Clare was devoted, and St. Francis saw that. And so she, too, like St. Francis, came from wealth. And at the age of 18, basically had a vision as well on Palm Sunday in 1212. Decided that she had her own epiphany, heard her voices, and said, I'm giving up everything as well. And was basically swept away and met St. Francis. There was some back and forth between her family, and kind of being captured and bringing back, and captured and bringing back, and her family didn't understand. But finally, she moved to San Damiano with her friend and sisters. She was a number of sisters, and decided to basically do the same thing under the authority of St. Francis. And at age 21, formed her own group called the Poor Ladies. The Poor Ladies based their vision off of fasting, prayer, and work. They sought approval, official approval as well, through the Franciscans. And the modern version, by the way, today is called the Poor Clares. But back then there was 40 of them that basically cared for a lot of the Franciscans back then, and also did a lot of the work. St. Clare is obviously important to St. Francis, and they were able to form a bond and trust, and they leaned on each other quite a bit in these early years when no one understood what they were trying to do. I will post a separate video for the two Franciscan values that are being discussed this week, which would be contemplation and hospitality.